I thought they were recognizing Tony because, you know, I'm in LA and he's a director, right?
Yeah.
So they know who he is. But I said to Tony, I'm gonna just run up to my room and I'll meet you back down here in 5, let's go. And I had no idea what the convention was. I thought it was gonna be, you know, professors and learned people delivering, you know, recondite speeches about horror. I had no clue at all. Let's go and find out what all this is about. It took me about 20 minutes to get to the elevator. And that was my first experience of Mr. Bradley, Mr. Bradley, Mr. Bradley, Mr. Bradley. Can I take a picture with the, you know, that? So after that weekend, I had no doubt what was going on, but I didn't see it coming, and I didn't know it was happening.
I recently went to see Hellraiser on the big screen. It was a phantom event.
Yeah, just
I think
suddenly arbitrarily got re-released.
Yeah.
Which was,
but it was a treat to see it on the big screen again. And one of the things that impressed me about it was how well it holds up. It never really betrays its low budget, and you know, the budget for 1987 was, I think, between $2 and $3 million or something like that. But it was a much lower budget than I thought it was, because the film is so well directed and the cinematography is so good, the music is incredible. We were playing music before you came on, just because I think that is probably the greatest marriage between the theme of the movie and the music that I've ever heard in horror, and I've been a horror fan, you know, like 70 years. So I mean, it's like a long time.
Well, and you know that there was a band called Coil who made remarkable, very kind of visceral synth sound, which Clive had heard and really liked and wanted to use on Hellraiser. And to your point, if he had, it would have worked, but if he had, it would absolutely date the film. Because the music absolutely belongs to its time.
It does.
And Chris Young's score, which I agree with you, I think it's you know, accuse me of being biased, but I think it is one of the great horror scores.
Oh,
without
absolutely.
question. And he outdid himself on Hellbound.
Yes.
The Hellbound score is even better.
Yes.
It lifts the film to another level.
Like an epic, almost like an epic.
Absolutely,
level.
and it stops it dating.
Right.
And the other thing that stops it dating is the Cenobites. Now, I've always said you could show the Cenobites to a 14th century monk, and he would know exactly what he was looking at.
Yeah.
And if we're all still here, and it's looking increasingly unlikely, in a few hundred years' time, people will still go, oh, those guys. And then, you know, there's Claire's hair and earrings and shoulder pads that remind us that we're in the late 80s, early 90s, but otherwise there's not much that dates, and also because Clive's vision and Clive's imagination doesn't date. It's not fixed in time, it's always bigger and greater than the milieu that he's operating in.
Yeah. Incredible writer. Bob Keane was the one who did the makeup, and his team. Did he base the look of Pinhead on your facial features at all, or did he just have this idea from the beginning, or did he say, okay, I'm going to look at Doug and I'm going to see what look is going to be the most effective with his particular
it kind of works the other way around, and a combination of both. Clive was already showing me drawings of Pinhead. He knew exactly what Pinhead looked like. He had pretty much literally dreamt him up. So the appearance of Pinhead was already there.
Yeah.
Now, Jeff Portas, who part of Bob Keane's image animation team, who, working with Clive, designed and made and applied the Hellraiser movie, Hellraiser movie. The Pinhead makeup is what I'm trying to say. He has said that Clive had said to him that he wanted my features to come through the makeup. So there would be an element of that, I suppose.
Sure.
But I think also partly what Clive is doing there is what he also did with casting Oliver Smith to play skinned Frank, and also casting Nick and Simon as Chatterer and Butterball, and Grace in the first movie as the female Cenobite.
Yeah.
It would have been the easiest thing in the world to put extras, and much cheaper to put extras in those costumes and get a voiceover actor later to add it on. Ollie Smith was talking about this at a convention I did with him last weekend, that Clive had stipulated. They needed a very skinny guy, because you've got to be very skinny to be able to get inside a full body suit and look like you're skinned. But Clive was adamant that it must be an actor, not, you know, to go to Uglies or whatever.
Yeah.
Kind of, you know, one of those modeling agencies that specializes in weirdly sized and shaped people. That, no, he was not interested in that. He wanted a very thin actor.
Somebody who could convey.
And he wanted actors inside the Cenobite makeups,
Sure.
who could flesh out, so to speak, those characters and give them a sense of reality. The first stage for me was going to have a life cast taken, and then the makeup is modeled on the life cast. So, you know, unless you've dramatically gained or lost weight in the meantime, that makeup is going to precisely fit your face, and strictly speaking, only your face.
Are the pins part of a solid piece, or they actually have to be applied individually?
A bit of both. In the first two movies, there was a kind of metal base in the foam latex. So it's foam latex pieces that are glued to my head. You start with a bald cap. I had a lot of hair in 1986, a lot of jet black long hair, all of which gets pushed up inside the bald cap and comes down, which is like a swimming cap, and that gets glued on first. And then you start applying, it was a 6-piece application in the first two movies. There was a little circular metal base which had a little, as it were, a little half a pin sticking out of it. And then they made false nails, which was kind of like very, very, very fine stair rod, metal with a hollow inside it, and then they soldered a nail head on top of that.
Okay.
That slipped onto the metal bit and glued onto it.
Wow.
So all the basic bit of the pins went on with the foam latex, and then all of the pins had to be added individually.
Yeah.
Hellraiser 3 onwards, they were modified Q-tips and super glue. So, you know, it's a painstaking process, and I don't, you know, the nails didn't make life easy for anybody. When we screen tested the makeup, it was pins.
Wow.
It was pins. There were two decisions at the screen test. Clive was delighted by everything, but the problem was that if the camera was close to me, the pins looked great. If the camera went any distance away, I just looked bald. They didn't read at all. You couldn't see them. So that's why they became really nails, not pins, was to make them chunkier and read from a distance. And the second thing, he thought that the makeup was great, but that my baby blues were kind of undercutting the severity of the dark Pope of Hell. So in went the black contact lenses.
I read this story about the wrap party talking about the makeup, where you were totally ignored by the rest of the cast and crew, and you thought...
Not the cast.
Oh, not the cast.
The cast knew who I was.
Okay.
But no, I've spent weeks hanging out on set with members of the crew, and I've sat around, talking about football, and when I say football, I mean actual football. I want to start a campaign to have American football rebranded as throwball, so we can have football back, because we actually use our feet, you see, to play football, soccer, and generally the price of fish and whatnot. And I'm seeing guys from the crew, and I'm going up to say hi to them, and they're walking straight past me. And initially I was thinking, fuck, I thought we were getting on okay. And then it occurred to me that they had no idea who I was, because they had never seen me out of my makeup. They only knew me as Pinhead.
That's amazing.
I had no other existence.
I want to ask you one, I'm going to open it up to questions. I want to ask you one more quick question, because I recently read the Scarlet Gospels, which combines the story of Clive's supernatural detective / fixer Harry D'Amour and meets Pinhead in hell.
Yes.
Is there any chance that you would reprise the role if that were to come to be developed into a film?
Let me preface this answer by saying that I have absolutely no reason to suppose that it's going to happen or is likely to happen. But what I have said is that if I could wave a magic wand before I get much older, it would be to make a movie of the Scarlet Gospels happen. And it's also partly because because it's a very different Pinhead that Clive has presented in the Scarlet Gospels. He's not calling him Pinhead, he's bestowed the name the Hell Priest on him, which has caught on very quickly. He's still, in my mind, doesn't have a name.
Yeah.
Hell Priest will do as a description. Dark Pope of Hell, Prince of Pain, whatever, whatever. It would be a perfect bookend to my life in latex, so to speak, if that were to happen. And but I was in my early 30s when I wore the makeup for the first time, and I've always said that I think, to a large extent, special effects makeup is a young man's game. I ain't in my early 30s anymore. I will be 71 in September, and time and gravity has done to me what time and gravity will do to everybody, sadly, but there it is. I had a conversation with Clive at one point when Hellraiser remake was rearing its head and it looked like it might happen. And I sat with him in his house in LA, and we talked about this, and he said, well, look, I think this may be happening. And I've told them I will write it, but I've told them that in my opinion they would be out of their minds to consider doing this without you. But he said everything that I've just said, and I agreed with him. He said, so I have said to them, we should explore a different Pinhead, not retread what we've already done, because we can't, because you're not that Doug Bradley anymore.
Well, and Pinhead is actually in hell for the
what Clive was saying was, let's look at an older. Let's not try and pretend that Pinhead isn't aging.
Right.
Let's look at that. Let's look at an older, darker, tireder, bitterer Pinhead. One who's maybe not so keen on the nice one-liners, not so enamored of his own ability to be darkly witty, which he is. He's a show-off. He's a showman. Aren't I a clever bastard?